Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to another Monday night edition of the Suffolk Non-League Show. I am James. Here's Adam. And once again, we are live across Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for the next however long that this show goes on for. Just as a small reminder, and we will be talking about this throughout the show as well. For those of you who are watching on from a Twitter perspective, you have only got a couple of weeks left of being able to watch the show on Twitter before Twitter disabled that function. So if you want to continue to watch the show, make sure you join us over on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. But before we get into tonight's show, Adam, how the hell are you doing? It's another Monday night. We are back once again. How's your week been?
Another one ticked off. Another one done.
Yeah.
Another one closer now. Yeah, another one closer to whatever happens next, eh?
Yeah.
So got all excited to see help out, eat out, help out. It's gonna, Uber are campaigning for that to come back again. So I'll sign me up for a cheap meal. I can't believe a grub you used to be able to get at McDonald's for half price. So yeah, we're getting there, aren't we? We are getting there.
How was your Valentine's? More importantly,
how was your Valentine's? Well, it was without a snuggle from you, mate. So it was lonely. It wasn't up to its normal standards.
Yeah, it's not the same if we can't get a cuddle in, is it?
Well, no, this is it. It's been too long without a cuddle now as well, James. No, it was okay. I'll be honest, Kate had to work, so.
Oh well, there you go.
It was quite lonely anyway, but we're doing something tomorrow night, so which is why we can't do a stream tomorrow night.
Yes, we would have been doing one. For those of you who haven't seen on the channel, we are doing a couple of live streams in the next few weeks. We've got the Norwich game versus Coventry this Wednesday, which we'll be live streaming and doing a watch along for that. And then for next Tuesday, we're doing the Ipswich versus Hull game, which I know a lot of you are Ipswich Town fans, and there's been a lot going on, especially today in the world of Ipswich. So it'll be really good to see you guys over there. So I said, this coming Wednesday and next Tuesday for all of those live shows. But before we get too far into today's episode of the Suffolk Non-League Show, I just want to have a quick word from our sponsors. A massive thank you to all of our sponsors on the Suffolk Non-League Show: Starling and Lock, Matchday Marketing, GBS, Your Shirts, and Clabber Creative. GBS are a family-run construction company in Ipswich operating nationwide with over 30 years experience, offering fire protection, diamond drilling, commercial building, health and safety, and asbestos removal. Starling and Lock, self-employed electrician in the Stowmarket and Suffolk area since 1989, offering domestic work and certificates for people buying and selling houses. An NIC/EIC member. Matchday Marketing, sports marketing and branding company, helping enhance the image and profile of grassroots and non-league clubs at a very low cost, utilising over 20 plus years in the game. Your Shirts, eye-catching, professional-looking garments for your business, team, club or organisation, with a range of printing methods to cover all individual needs. Clabber Creative is a creative agency based in Framlingham, Suffolk, offering fully managed football club websites. They are about giving your club a professional image and the ongoing support to maintain it. Links for all of these companies will be in the description below. Go and check them out and tell them that DeeJam has sent you. And just a very quick update from Your Shirts for everyone who has been messaging regarding potential merchandise that is coming out. We are one step closer towards getting the site all up and running and ready to go. So for all of you who have been asking about the hoodies, the t-shirts, the hats that Adam is wearing, they will all be hopefully in the next few weeks. We will be announcing something very, very soon. We're just waiting for confirmation on what we can get shipped in and what is allowed to be done at the moment. Obviously, with everything going on in the current world, etc., it has been a little bit more difficult to get in certain supplies, etc., but it will be coming around fairly shortly. We just have to kind of play ball on this part, but it is coming very, very shortly. I just want to say also a massive thank you to all of our Patreon members. The link for Patreon, if you're watching from YouTube, is pinned at the top of the chat. If you want to help towards a monthly donation towards the channel, it would be massively appreciated in the current times. Even if it's as little as £1 a month, it really, really does help the show continue to grow. Go over to patreon.com/DeeJam. Have a look at it. If you want to put some money towards the show, that would be much appreciated. If you'd rather do it on a one-off donation like these guys have on the screen currently, you can also go over to our Ko-fi page, which is available or for those more tech-savvy YouTubers that regularly get involved, the super chat is now available. Next to the comment section, there is a $sign. If you want to put something towards the show, you can do it via there as well. Let's get everybody's hellos up on the screen before we get too far into tonight's show. Matchday Marketing is here. Good evening, mate. Hope you're doing all right. Ben Moore, loyalty, my friend. Absolutely love it. Hope you're both well. Yes, Ben, we are doing absolutely superbly well. Thank you very much for joining us, mate. And again, hopefully you can join us next Tuesday for the Ipswich game. I'd love to get your thoughts and opinions, Ben. Really, really would on what's going on at Ipswich. Irv is in the building. Evening, mate. Hope you're doing all right. Shem, evening, gents. Hope you're well. I'm watching, honestly, multitasking. We all know Shem's watching the Chelsea game, really. But thank you for joining in, mate. Hopefully you're doing all right. Slim's SIL Weekly. Good evening, Alex. Hope you're doing all right, mate. Good evening, mate. Stuart is here. Evening, gents. My dad has tuned in for the first time forever. He normally watches this on catch up. Fair play to your dad for joining. Do you know why? Do you know why he's here? It's because he won last week.
Yeah, I know.
He won last week Super Six. That's why he's here. He just wants to brag.
Well, we've got some good news for Irv coming up later on tonight, so he needs to make sure he sticks around.
There you go, Irv. Make sure you stay tuned. Sean is here. Evening, mate. Hope you're doing all right. Have I tuned into Brokeback? Hey, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of guy love. Nothing wrong with that. Me and we. I'm desperate. I'm desperate for Adam's cuddles right now. I really am.
Honest, I've started to invent plumbing problems just to get people to come around my house to meet people.
Just sitting there all day, just tapping on it. Eventually, it'll break.
I'm just, I'm not going to stick things in the electrics, but I figure that if I hit a pipe hard, the damage will probably be limited. So.
Absolutely superb. Victor's in the building. Good evening, Jess. Good evening, Victor. Thank you very much for your message the other day, mate. Really, really did mean the world.
Congratulations as well.
Yes,
on your appointment at Great Yarmouth.
Yes, definitely. Congratulations on that one. Jordan's in the building. Hope you're well. Yes, we are, mate. Mark's also here. Hope everyone is keeping positive. We are, and hopefully next Monday we'll start to see, fingers crossed, where we're sort of heading directions wise, but I'm not holding my breath. Will your shirts do Ipswich Town crests flare guns? I'm not really sure what that means for share on there, but there we go. Maverick is also here. Hello, Maverick. Hope you're doing all right. Luke Gifkins is here. I'm glad the snow is nearly gone. Yeah, well, it's gone from my end. Anyway. Definitely gone my end. Yeah, always will, mate. As long as I get a free hoodie. Jesus, Ben, we're not a charity. We might be able to give you something. We might be able to see what we can try and sneak in for you, mate. But yeah, we'll let you know. Jamie's here as well. Irv is already looking forward to later on in the show. Bill is in the building as well. How did the little man go getting sleep without the dummy? Oh, Spencer, thank you so much for asking. Yeah, he did all right, to be fair to him. Actually, he's done pretty well. He's probably lost about an hour's of sleep during the night, but that's probably to be expected because he's waking up at 6 o'clock and what would normally be the dummy that would soothe him to get back an hour's sleep. It's just not happening now. So he's waking up and all I can hear from 6 o'clock is, hiya, daddy, coming from the other room. And I'm just like, oh, I
can't wait for you, James, when he starts waking up at 5 and is just ready to run around every day. Going back to sleep at 6 o'clock. What is your child? Some kind of flipping robot. Don't get it.
So no, the only problem is the sleep during the day. That's the one thing we are struggling with. So we're going to see how this week goes, and then we will continue to there. But I really appreciate you asking, Spencer. That's an absolutely lovely touch. Will we be talking about the town protest that happened at lunchtime? Yes, we will. Yes. We will talk about that later on because I have got my thoughts and opinions on it, despite me being a Norwich fan. But we will be talking about that. John is also here. Good evening, lads. Hope you're doing all right, John. Ben is here. Another good show lined up. We certainly hope so. All depends on what Dean's got to say, but we'll find out later on in the show. Alex has said, "I want a sexy beanie hat." Yes, I know a lot of people do, mate. And as I said, we will be announcing some things fairly shortly. But good to see a lot of our locals are in the building tonight. If you are watching from a YouTube perspective, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, all that stuff. Twitter, share the video, get it retweeted onto everyone's timelines, and Facebook. Make sure you share the video. Right. Adam, before we get too far into tonight's show, we have got two guests coming on at the moment who want to bring to everyone's attention, and we're happy to bring to everyone's attention some good causes and good charities that are currently going on at the moment. So I'm not going to explain too much. I'm going to let them do the talking. First of all, I'm delighted to say that we have got Sam Bond on the show. Sam, hope you're doing all right, mate. How are things? How is lockdown treating you, first of all?
Hi, lads. Thanks for having me on there. I guess lockdown's the same for everyone right now. Just the weekends are getting quicker and quicker, and hopefully the good news from Boris that we'll be allowed to have a picnic next month, even if it's raining, I will be there. So yeah, just Monday to Friday, getting through it, just like everyone else at the minute.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously you messaged me during the week saying you wanted to come onto tonight's show. I've got the screen, which I think people briefly saw just there on there. Let me bring it up, in fact. Talk to us a little bit about what the page is all set up for, what everything's all in aid of, just so that people can kind of get a bit of a background as well.
Okay, yeah, cheers. So I mean, a matter of 3 or 4 weeks ago, former Thetford Town player Kyle Parrish, not just a player but also close friends with myself and an incredible amount of people in the local community. You know, he was suffering from some headaches and some issues with his vision, and it turns out that he had a brain tumor. So I mean, finding that out enough isn't, well, as if that isn't scary enough. It was, you know, it's quite serious, quite large. So I was in surgery within a matter of sort of 2.5 weeks, I think it was. And just it just, I can't imagine finding that out or how hard that must be. He's got 3 young daughters. He's only 30 himself. So.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, alone what it done for everyone, like friends and family. You know, I was just upset as anyone, I think. And actually, a couple of my friends started the post. You see, like Team Parish. So that was the first thing that they'd started, and everyone was changing their profile pictures just to rally around him. You know, it does a lot for people. Obviously, can't do wonders, but I think the more people you know that are thinking of you and pushing you to get through, it can't be any bad, right? So anyway, the first few days that was the case. I think someone close to the family as well had set up some sort of like donation spot for them to just directly transfer money and stuff, which got some great response. But as Kyle is known by so many people in the football club at the minute, people were asking in the chat, and at the time it was kind of like a bit of a private thing, but after a couple of days of just realization that we could actually be some massive help here, we put our heads together. There was a few suggestions, you know, lockdown restrictions stop the obvious of a charity match, or, you know, all donations from one game going towards Kyle and his family. And you know, in the end, we just we're only semi-pro footballers at the end of the day, and that's even the stretch. So we can't do much. But running is something that we have got in the locker. Not all of us, but most of us. And it's something that we could definitely all band together, do in our own time with the lockdown restrictions and stuff, and raise some awareness. And it just stemmed from there, really. We created the page. I think within an hour we'd already had £1,000 worth of donations, which was just incredible. I mean, and honestly, we're setting these targets time by time, but it really, hopefully, it just keeps on pushing on and pushing on. Actually, you know, I was lucky enough to talk to Kyle today, and his family I've been in constant conversation with over the sort of the last week or so, and they're emotional about the support that they're all getting, you know, not just Kyle, but for all of them, and the way that Thetford as a community has banded together and really been able to, in some way, give them tears of happiness, I think, for just how strong the community is and how good how good a cause it is, the target we've already reached. And it's just incredible. And hopefully now us doing the running as well will just be a bit of added incentive, you know. And it's sometimes it is really easy to browse past people's fundraisers, and there's you know, there is things like this going on, sadly, more often than not. But it just goes to show like how well respected Kyle is, and he was a fantastic footballer himself. So people that he's played against are donating to it and recalling times where he's probably given him a couple of bruises to go home with. He's such a strong competitor, and I expect him to really take that attitude into his road to recovery, because that is really what it's going to be. There's going to be some tough times ahead for him, and if our money can eradicate one small worry for a period of time, then that in itself will hopefully be worth the cause.
How is he doing in himself at the moment? Obviously, you've spoken to him. Apart from the emotions of what's going on with the fundraising, how is he sort of holding up with everything? Because obviously it's an even tougher time to have a serious illness than it would normally be. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, without having, you can't have everyone rallying around you and family helping out, so it's incredibly tough, right? But he is strong as an ox. That was the first sort of my reaction was, if there is anyone that can get through this and come out the other side even stronger, it is him. He's not one for attention either. It's probably worth pointing out. I think he probably would have found it hard to make this public himself. It was his friends that had done it. Even leading up to it in the few days, it was still very, very small amount of people that knew. And speaking with him today, he has got the attitude. It is the can-do attitude and will-do attitude. I mean, it's all probably a bit too much for him. He'll probably admit at the minute to really soak in and realise what's got to happen. But I think over the next few weeks, they'll certainly know more from a medical perspective and what sort of targets he can be hitting himself. But yeah, I mean, as good as he can be, in my opinion, from how I've spoken with him, like I say, wears his heart's close to his chest, so it's hard for me to say, but I think he's doing a lot better than I would be, that's for sure.
And what are your goals that you're setting out with the fundraising, and how have you done so far? I can see your blue bar is nice and full on your page. Talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So we started today. We wanted to give it a few days to get the awareness going on the page. The target is actually 550 kilometers running, and that's with the manager Matt Morton included in that. And then we've got the coach Craig Bibby and chairman Nigel Arms, who are going to be cycling an extra 100 kilometers. Nigel, I think he said he's 62, so he's a bit of an old boy, but even he wanted to run. Kyle means a lot to him as well. It was Nigel Arms who suggested the t-shirts just to raise a bit more awareness when we're out running. So if there's anyone from Thetford listening, hopefully you can see him and egg on the lads when they are going a little toot. Not too aggressive though. But yeah, and so we've got this target of 550 kilometers. How we've started today, I think we're on to 78 odd kilometers just from the running side, and it's been suggested from a couple of the lads that look, we'll go for the target and more. If we hit that target within the 10 days, fantastic. But realistically, we're going to be trying to go above and beyond it, which is exactly what we want to stem through with the fundraising.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I have put the link for that and the Facebook page in the chat. If you can put anything towards it, it would be massively appreciated from everybody connected with the club, and obviously with everyone connected to yourself, Sal. So yeah, if you can put any money towards it, as I said, the link is in the chat. Really appreciate you coming on, Sam, to talk about that, and hopefully we'll get you on in a couple of weeks' time and get a bit of an update to see where things are going.
No, fantastic. Really appreciate you having on here and just giving this a bit of extra publicity for us. And on behalf of Kyle and his family, thank you from them as well.
Wish you the best of luck of getting back to running as well, because I'm sure everyone's been guilty of having a few weeks off.
It was hard work today, mate. It was hard work. Downhill for the next runs.
Plan your route carefully, my man.
Yeah, literally.
Cheers, Sam. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks, lads. Take care. Bye-bye.
No worries at all. And also then on from that part, we're delighted to also say that we have got somebody who should be well known to SIL as well, to also bring on a good cause that's currently going on at the moment. Phil, thanks for coming on to today's show. Thanks for reaching out to us, mate. How are you?
Thank you.
Oh, is he there?
I'm fine. Thank you. Yourself? Am I there?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Thanks. So, obviously, you've approached us sort of during the week about something that's going on, which is close to yourself. Do you want to just, whilst I bring the graphic up on the screen, do you want to just tell everyone what's happening and what you guys are raising money for at the moment?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, a lot of youngsters possibly won't know him, but a lot of the older people will. A very good friend of mine, Jeff Thorpe, who was a prolific goal scorer back in all through the 80s and a lot of the 90s. And unfortunately, about 15 months ago, he was diagnosed with MND, which is not a particularly well publicised disease, but it's a pretty brutal and devastating disease that affects the brain and the nerves, and can cause muscle weakness, stiff joints, breathing problems, mobility problems from just walking from one room to the other. Jerry was a little bit of a local legend back in his day, a big Ipswich Town and Spurs supporter.
Oh, we've lost him. We've lost him. Hopefully he'll be back on in a few moments. But the Just Giving page, I have put the Just Giving page again in the chat. So it's available on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. It should be in all of the chats on here. I think Phil's now back in. Let's see if we can bring it back onto the screen here, so that he can carry on talking about it. But as I said, the page is up on the screen here. Not sure what happened. We got you back on.
Sorry. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yes. And I went to see him about probably 6 months ago now, and we come up with this idea of setting up an SIL 1975 to 2005 Facebook page, which has proved very, very popular. But Jerry's been very, very positive, but I caught him on a bad day, and I suddenly thought, do you know what? MND is just so poorly publicised. And if I'm honest, a year ago, I didn't even know what motor neurone disease was.
Yeah.
And as I say, it's not very well publicised. So I thought I would organise a virtual race night.
Mm-hmm.
And to say it sort of took wings and flew would be an understatement. It was just unbelievable. And we've raised getting on for £6,500. The actual race night itself is Saturday evening, and there are still places available if anyone wants to attend. It is a virtual thing, but there'll be a lot of local people, local footballers, ex-local footballers, managers, ex-managers, all attending, and it should be a pretty fun evening. I'm dressing up as Arthur Daly on the night, and I'm going to be the tipster. So that it's just, we just want to have a little bit of fun in these sad and depressing times, really, and get people together, and also raise awareness for Jerry's disease, because, as I say, he's a very positive lad, and he's coped admirably with this debilitating disease. I mean, he's actually had personal messages, from Glenn Hoddle, the ex-England manager, Chris Kamara, Ozzy Ardiles, AP McCoy, the ex-champion jockey, and he's also had a letter from Jose Mourinho. So there's a lot of people have got on board with this, and the publicity for it can only be good, as it will raise a lot of people's awareness of this, as I say, this pretty dreadful disease. And we just, as I say, we're hoping to have a fun-packed evening, and if anyone wants to get involved, they can email me or private message me, and I'll let them know, how they can go about it. It is this Saturday evening, but we do need to know numbers by close of play on Wednesday to get all the staffing up to scratch, or get the staffing levels correct for the amount of people that are going to be there. So definitely. It's just to raise awareness of Jerry's disease, because he's a lovely chap, and he's well known and respected by the local football community.
It's fantastic to see people thinking outside the box to raise money and bringing people together as well at this moment in time. And it's tremendous the amount of money you've already managed to raise. So any more that we can help with or push along the way, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, well, once COVID is over, we are, we're going to do a sponsored walk around Christchurch Park in Ipswich, which I know will be very, very popular because it'll mean loads and loads of ex-players, current players, and that all getting together, and that should be good fun. But obviously, we can't do that at the moment until restrictions are lifted. We've also got plans for a head shaving, which we're going to couple of lads have agreed to have their heads shaved with any money donated going to charity. Gavin Vince, an ex-player, has put up 500 quid for that. So that's very, very generous of him, and we appreciate it. As I say, we've had such great response from a lot of companies and a hell of a lot of local footballers. It just shows what a great football family that Suffolk has, to be honest.
Yeah.
It really has been heartwarming.
Yeah, definitely. If anybody wants to donate to it, as I said, the link has been put into the chat. So really, go and click onto it. Give anything that you can towards it. And if you want to get involved in that event that's going on, contact Phil over on Facebook, and he'll get you added onto that list. But really appreciate you coming on and talking about that. And hopefully you guys can raise as much money as possible for Jerry and his cause.
It's fantastic.
Well, thanks very much for letting me come on and promote it. No, thank you.
Not at all. Anytime, mate. Thank you.
No worries. You take care. So, absolutely brilliant to start off tonight's show with two great causes that are going on at the moment, especially as Phil quite rightly said on the end there. It just goes to show how much Suffolk football bands together at a non-league perspective. When the going gets tough at this level, we may all have our disagreements from time to time, especially online and on the pitch for 90 minutes or whatever the case may be. But when the going gets tough, as I said, there's just everyone just gets together, and I'm just great to see how much money has been raised for these two causes that are going on at the moment. It just goes to show, doesn't it? It's just absolutely
considering everything that's going on right now. That is an incredible amount of money.
Yeah,
it really is. And it's good to see it going towards such great causes.
Yeah, definitely. No worries, Jason. Don't worry about it at all. So, should we bring our main man in? Let's get him on the show. This man needs absolutely no introduction. Dean Cooper, regular commentator of the show, is in the building. How are you, Dean? You all right?
I'm good. How are you two?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. How are you finding things at the moment in lockdown 3.0?
I'm starting. Well, I think I'm just. Well, you're used to it, and then it's a bit like, it's just never ending, isn't it? It's just like I am actually really starting to miss football now. I really am.
Yeah. Because obviously, I know we talked, before the season kicked off, we had various chats during the season, and obviously we saw each other at a couple of games when you left Achilles, etc., and you were still going to as many games as possible. It must, obviously from yourself being involved in it quite heavily, it must be quite frustrating that just the option of being able to go to a game has now been taken away as well.
Yeah, it's just, I say, even if I'm not involved in coaching, managing, or in any other aspect, Saturdays is football day, and I'll go here, there, wherever there's a game, and I'll be watching it. It's a massive part of me, and obviously everyone on this show. It's a massive part of our life. And to be taken away, it starts to hurt people a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I knew we'll get straight into the chat. So obviously, before we get too far into our discussion, Dean, we do have one bit of news that we need to kind of cover, and I wanted to get you on to kind of get your first thoughts on this as well. There was an update that came through from the SIL this week about what to potentially do with the upcoming fixtures. So I'm just going to read you what was sent out to everybody at the various different clubs, and then we'll have a bit of a chat around it. So the first part of the statement says, that looking at the dates and the government information, I cannot see that any football starting before April and the FA season date ending in May, etc. Those 6 to 8 weeks would not, I feel, allow us enough time to complete any meaningful targets like a half season. As with every other league, another null and void season could be the conclusion. It's not what we want, but we're in an uncertain times. The reasons I feel that contribute to that decision have included clubs' willingness to start up again. We would need 2 weeks of warm-up games, etc., pitch availability, with obviously the summer coming up, schools not wanting to allow their facilities to be open. There's a whole host of reasons. They go on to say on the second part of the statement to say that, like last season, I feel we cannot award league titles or relegate clubs, and I am against carrying the season through into next season for a number of reasons, including player registrations, adding new players that want to join into different clubs. The above are my thoughts and details, and I'm aware that I'm aware of it present. Tomorrow evening, the management committee are meeting online for their February meeting, and I would welcome feedback to take on board for that. I know it is only a day, but your thoughts are important to us. If you could email any replies by 6 p.m. tomorrow night. This was sent out last Wednesday, right? So we've got those two kind of statements on there, which they're giving people a day's notice to get any thoughts and opinions that they want to have sent back. We're not getting facts. We're getting one person's opinions on what should happen. And then that person is openly stating that they don't agree with the seasons and the results going forward, for this season going into next season. Now, I'm hearing conflicting reports. I've had people messaging me saying, nope, the season's going to be null and void. None of us getting dragged over. It's not going to happen. And then I'm hearing the other half of it where people are saying, no, there's a strong case and a strong argument that they want to bring this season's fixtures into next and pick up where we left off. It's all getting a bit confusing and a bit muddly all over the place. Dean, where do you sit on it? What's your thoughts? Because I'm really not happy with it.
Where I sit with it is I've just seen it's 3 minutes past 9. So basically this meeting that they're so-called having is a load of old tosh. Their words is all about, we want to do this. Like, they should have done this. They're still not doing it now. Someone like Adam said the other week, someone needs to grow a pair of big fat bollocks and to say it's null and void, because they can give you this, and this, but they are leading to null and void. So just do it.
Yeah.
Do it ages ago. Everyone knows where they are. That's what us people in football, we don't like. What's happening? Oh, is this happening? Is that happening? No, it's not. Yes, it is. We just want these are null and void. Done. Move on. That's it.
I think it's even in most people's heads now that it's void. I genuinely think most people's opinion is, well, it's done. No one's expecting it to be rekindled in a couple of weeks' time.
You're not going to be able to carry on. There's not enough time. There's not enough the grounds. Nothing is going to happen. This meeting will be about a meeting that's happening next year. No one knows what's going on. Just grow a pair, null and void it, go again in August if we can.
I don't even think I think there's a different argument now, though, because we're now so late in. I don't even think there's the will to carry on.
I think everyone's give up, and it's like,
that wasn't on the table when we first started talking about this in what was it, early December time.
Yeah, perhaps you should have their meeting on here.
Yeah, well,
if only. Christ.
I mean, like, I think that what we've got to think about is that there's a strong likelihood that if you said to teams now, like, get some games in and then we'll finish off next season, then roll a season, I don't think people would be bothered with that. I think everyone's sort of starting to think, what happens if this goes again next year? Like, I think there's other thoughts in people's minds that are much further ahead than what happens in 6 weeks' time. So let's knock it on the head. Despite everything else we may have said, time has been a massive change to this whole process.
Massively. The whole thing with time as well is how many players and managers sitting out there thinking, actually, I'm not even thinking about it. I can't be bothered with it at the minute. We've been that long away from it. People are just like, when it returns, I'll deal with it then. I'll sort it then. I'll play then. Like, everyone's got more important things to crack on with.
So yesterday, Dean, I saw the manager of a team had resigned, non-league team, Clapton, and I thought, that's not going to be performance based. It's not going to be on anything that's really been said. That's simply going to be on the fact that I've had some time off, and I've realised my weekends with my family are more fun. I think, genuinely, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
I think it's going to happen. People
what baffles me as well is the whole not promoting and not relegating. Like, again, they're not growing a pair of balls. Like, the whole thing. Like, I don't think I was at Cranes at the time, but they were champions. They absolutely smashed it. But to not crown them, but then to promote other teams, but say it's due to a league restructure, I think is shocking. Teams like Cranes should have been given this award. Because of the record they had as well. Like, how can you take that away from such a class performance? Stowmarket in the furlough. Like, I think it's embarrassing, but they're more than happy to null and void a season, but still take people's hard-earned money through fines and admin fees, which I find embarrassing.
So I think, like, for the last few weeks, the conversation on it all has been able to be quite quiet because nothing's happened. Yeah. And I said to James a couple of weeks ago, I said, we're not talking about this at the minute. No one's talking about it. Everyone's just letting time pass. And we all accept that because we knew nothing was going to happen for weeks. But I said, the one thing I can guarantee you, James, is that as soon as something comes out where a decision needs to be made, there's going to be absolute outrage all over again because it's so long to get to the obvious decision. And it's already starting to filter through that people can't believe the fact that after all these weeks, they're now just saying, yeah, we're probably, preferences to void the season. You knew we would be playing all this time. You could have got to this point weeks ago. They weren't going to shorten a lockdown.
Yeah,
absolute joke.
The most annoying.
Sorry, Dee, I just want to say it's the fact that they've sent this message out to people, and we've only got it because people forwarded it to myself and Adam, right? They've sent this message out to everyone, and they've given everyone a day's notice. If they want to get any opinions in, they've only given a club or somebody on the board a day to respond to it. A day.
But the thing is,
that's supposed to do with a day's notice.
That's like they always do. No matter how many opinions they have and whatever comes forward, nothing's listened to anyway. They've already made their decision. It's just their way of being seen to do the right thing. Although they're not, they've already made the decision. It's already been made. They're just ain't got the ball to just say it.
I was going to ask you, Dean, on just based on the experience that you've got of being at a club, like, what do you feel the weight of an opinion is within a football club going up the chain? Because I don't think it's worth anything. I think an opinion is just something that you can use as a checkbox exercise.
Yeah. Well, there's a set off you might as well just keep your opinion to yourself. That's what it is. Just keep your opinions to yourself because you can't take it nowhere.
And that is part of the issue because everyone has that default position. So opinions stop being shared and people stop bothering and they lose the love for it. So all of the decisions come from higher and it's just chucked at you and that's what you do.
Yeah,
and
basically, we're all just underneath it. We're just on strings and we have to do everything they say and do. We have no say. But what I think is the most upsetting thing is football's come a long way and it's changed dramatically over the years, many years. But what scares me most is not the current situation now, but what the football's going to be like when we return.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go.
We're not talking about what's it going to be like once it returns. It could have limitations. It could have. Do you know what I mean?
You mentioned, Adam, about that person resigning from their role. You are going to have it. You are going to have one or two things, aren't you? You're going to have that half of people that are like, do you know what? I'm itching to get back. Like, I don't care what format it's in, whether or not it's a friendlies, a made-up tournament, which is something that they mentioned on their statement as well about potentially, if teams do want to play, then there's the option to create something. There will be that half that like, I don't care what it is, I just want to play football. And there will be the other half that just go, do you know what? I'm either at an age where I'm young, I can't be bothered with this, I'd rather do something else for my life, or there'll be a certain age where they go, do you know what? I was thinking about potentially retiring or maybe not continuing playing football. This is just enough for me. I haven't played in a year. I can't do it. Do you know what I mean? I can't get myself back up to that level and continue to play. And then, management wise as well, volunteers. It's going to take a big effort from a lot of people to get so many clubs back up and running. And, you know, we saw those posts from Grunsborough, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, where they showed the old newspaper clips of the amount of teams that used to be in the SIL.
Unbelievable, wasn't it? Unbelievable.
And, you know, how many teams we've got left now, and how many teams will there be in a year's time because of what's been going on? And
you say that, and you look at, no disrespect to them, but there's a lot of teams in the SIL Prem, especially, that how long are they going to carry on for? There's a lot of experienced, let's say, players who probably ain't going to have legs in them over the next year or so. This season was probably a lot of people's last season.
Yeah.
Before they retire. So again, teams are going to struggle that way. And there's teams out there who have a lot of them players in who haven't got nothing underneath. Then what happens? Do they fold? Then what happens with the leagues? And it's just, that's what I mean. Football next going forward is going to be scary.
So I'll give you a statement that you can feel free to shoot down then, is that with a lack of people's ability to do exercise and socialise, more people could be introduced to the game than have ever been in the game before, meaning that people come along to training and say they want to be part of it. Do you think it's likely or not? Is it accessible enough?
Do people want to?
Yeah. It's hard to see past that, isn't it? It is hard to see past that. Do people want that commitment, or do they just
that's what I'm saying. Like, the vision going forward is it's the unknown, and obviously this whole pandemic thing, obviously it is what it is, but I think personally it's killed football, obviously right now, but just potentially going forward, where's it going? Like, who's coming through, as you say, who's really can be bothered to get up and go and get fit, and well, if there is football next season, pre-season is going to be very, very funny. there'll be a lot of me fat boys running around.
You're gonna need 3 months just to get everyone back into shape, aren't you?
Ooh.
Christ.
Yeah, you'll have to have a Stuart beast mode.
I mean, I need to do some exercise just to stand on the sideline and record the games, let alone know what the players have got to do. Jesus Christ,
it's mad.
It's a difficult direction. It's going to be hard to work out what we do and where we go. The thing is, the first hurdle is getting COVID fairly under control before we worry too much. Because whilst it's not, then I don't think anyone's going to get excited about starting playing again. I genuinely don't, because it will always be in the back of their minds, I'm going to put all of this effort in for it not to carry on. And the teams that are laughing are the ones that didn't really bother making much of an investment this season. Those that went out and bought new kits, those that went out and got players on contract, like higher up, like spent a bit of cash in that, what's it for?
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
We've got Alex who says you will see a lot of players and managers not be around. This is going to affect clubs. You will see a lot of leagues reducing, which it's hard
Sadly, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, hard to see on that point. Ben has said youth football as well. I know for a fact I coach at that level. The players at youth clubs all want to develop and see their mates, which they can't do. And I guarantee you that they won't play, which is, again, a very good point around youth football. It's having a massive knock-on effect of that part of the game as well, because, you know, obviously we focus primarily on the adult football, but it's a big factor as well. The next generation coming through.
In a few weeks' time, I've already spoken to Victor, who's just taken up the under-18s role at Yarmouth, and we'll get him on. It'll be interesting to hear from him, because between the age of 16 and 18, that's when players can start having a few games in the men's game and everything, and they've pretty much missed any opportunity to do that. So player development and getting players breaking through into the men's game at any level is going to be seriously impacted. So that it will be interesting, and again, it's going to just be down to those that want to carry it on. At that age, it's quite easy just to get a different interest if you can't do the thing that you thought you loved.
Yeah, you think as well in that age bracket, like you say, the 16, 17s who have missed this whole year and a half of whatever of football, that progression, experience they would get from filtering into that system and going higher into men's football, they've missed. So what do they do now? Do they go, well, I don't know what to do? Are they going to be prepared for that man's game? do you then lose them players?
I think everyone's going to need a squad that's about 3 times larger than they had the one before it to get through the injuries and fitness concerns everyone's going to have to start with. So maybe they'll get more chance to break through. Who knows?
Do you think then, as you know, as a kind of side point of that we'll see a lot of reserve teams and A teams and B teams kind of folding as a result, because there's going to be a massive influx of those guys needed at the first team level, because you know clubs may be turning around to those guys and go, well, they're on our books. We've got those available. We need them stepping up, and then potentially that side of the game then suffers as well, because
every team, those
first team players somehow.
Every side of it will suffer if that's the situation. Obviously, in the reserves, you're always going to have players that are who are probably capable of playing first team anyway. Some ain't been given the chance. A lot have, but they probably didn't want to take it. But yeah, if you're filtering those reserves players up to a first team that ain't ready, let's be polite like that. That then league for the first team is going to struggle even further. They're just going to get battered each week, and the morale will go off. But sadly, yes, I think there's going to be, from high up, all filters all the way down, a lot of teams who struggle financially. Like I say, volunteers are massive, and they're all about, and everyone needs them, but they ain't going to hang around for too long.
Yeah, definitely. Daniel Barnard has put, I'm currently under 9 manager at Claydon, and I haven't even seen them play yet, as I've only taken over just before lockdown. The boys are ballers from what I've been told, but again, you just there's no opportunity to be able to see them play. Do you know what I mean? It's tough. And again, how many of them are going to be in the lockdown bubble and, you know, more concentrated on playing on the Xbox and PlayStation and whatnot? We joke about it, but it does happen. You know, kids do get into that world, don't they?
Fans and just sitting there playing FIFA competitively by the end of all of this, rather than actually getting out there. Like, especially after all this homeschooling, where it's so obvious not all kids are applying themselves to it equally. Like, do you know what I mean? There's going to be kids do it. Some kids are really hard to parent as well, and the easiest way to parent them will be to put them in front of the Xbox. Like, and when it ends, they're not just going to start magically going out because Boris said they could. They're still going to play FIFA because that's what they wanted to do anyway. The filter will apply everywhere. You'll lose people from all sorts of generations for a while, and it is a massive shame, but it's not something that you can't do anything about. There's no way in the current circumstance that you can prevent happening what will naturally happen.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest thing of this. The discussion is more around how we're going to be prepared to deal with it when it inevitably does happen, because not everyone's going to just flock back like they did before. And I can guarantee you some people will turn up thinking they'll be all right for it, realize it's not for them, and then bugger off 2 weeks later anyway. Like, that's life. That's life. That's what happens. And it's just knowing that people will be prepared to manage that situation, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And
100%.
I don't know what that will.
That's it. Dean, let's move on from that. I want to talk about your time at Achilles this season, because
null and void, I reckon. So apparently I didn't do it.
You're not even on the record now, mate.
Obviously, we spoke at the beginning of the season, didn't we? It seems like a lifetime ago now. You were the first non-league interview that we actually got going back on the channel again. And we've spoken about this, Adam. You've had more combined views on that video than Jamie Curtin, Paul Hayes, all of those guys combined that we had during the first lockdown. The interest in it really peaked for you joining Achilles. Can you kind of take us back to that point and your feelings about taking over? Because obviously, again, it seems like quite a long time ago now.
Feelings about finding a role as well, I think I'm probably quite interested in, because I know that you were quite proactive in trying to find yourself a role as well. Before that.
Yeah, I mean, going back, and originally I was on the show. I was excited about it, driven, motivated, wanted to give it everything. It was tough, like I say, pre-season, getting mates to play mates, and have you got any mates? And that's where I was going. Started with 2 players, to cut a long story short, and then built all the way up, and off we went. But it just didn't work out. How it's just become tough. physically, mentally massive, because I was doing pretty much all on my own. And when you're trying to do warm-ups, training, set the kit out, do the team talks, do the team sheets, meet the ref, it just became far too much. So I had to walk away. For my own mental health, it was really starting to affect me hugely. And as I put on the shelf, I suffer and have done for many, many years with bipolar disorder. Diagnosed 2001. But obviously, that was happening in my body way before then. But yeah, obviously, when you've been diagnosed and been living with something daily for so long, you can adjust and you know how to handle your daily life. Right. But there's a lot of people out there who do struggle. But with Achilles, like I say, that took a big hit out of me, and made me realise that although I had that drive, that passion, that commitment to be a manager, and that's what I want to try and be, it's not for me. And going forward in the future, I can quite honestly say I'll never ever want to manage again, but I will stick to what I enjoy and what I have most enthusiasm about, which is coaching. I enjoy the getting the players motivated in a warm up and getting that buzz, getting them lively, getting them ready, physically, mentally. That's where I thrive, and that's where eventually I'll go to again. Managing for me, no more.
It's quite interesting to hear you say that. What's the main difference then between the two? Because from somebody like myself, if I went into something like that, I don't have the coaching background to be able to know how to put on the training sessions and stuff like that. My side of things would be the motivation and how I want things to be set up and and that kind of thing. But it sounds as if you enjoyed that side of things, but it was everything else that kind of came with the role at this level.
Yeah, there's two sides. Basically, when there's managing is, and hats off to anyone who's managed. Like I say, I don't know how Stuart Spreadbridge at Westfield managed on his own for God knows how many years. I do not know how he done it. Wow. So hats off. And any other manager out there who've done it on their own, incredible, because it is a full-time job. And when I was a player, I didn't have that respect for a manager like that, where I thought, he just turned. We all think it, but until you do it, you do not realise what goes into it. It is Monday right through to Saturday, Sunday. You just do not have any time off at all. Really? And coaching, my experience is I was coached from a very young age. I was in the School of Excellence of Ipswich Town from the age of 8 till 16. So I was first coached by Roger Osborne, Tony Kinsella, who's been mentioned on here a few times, and so on and so forth. Played with name calling, Darren Bent, Darren Ambrose, that sort of squad. So I was always coached at a level where it was exciting and good and driven. So that's exciting, and that's where that's where I focus, and that's where I'm good. I can think. My bipolar, in a way, helps me because I'm really quick at thinking, and that gives me that where I can adapt very quickly to a training session. If something's not working, I can change it, see something different, and that's where there's nothing better than getting players buzzing, smiling, motivated, hungry, ready to go to war, basically. And that's where I thrive. So managing, no, don't do it unless you want to just spend your day. You want to go part-time, so you'd have no choice. No.
It's interesting that you kind of that's how you kind of view things at the moment. Do you think things would have been easier if you had somebody in alongside you? You mentioned about managing on your own. What kind of happened with bringing somebody in alongside you? Why did that not kind of work out?
I had a few come in, and I'll be polite. Basically, it wasn't what I thought was the right decision probably wasn't the right decision. Right. But if I had some people who are well known in the game as managers come in alongside me, I think, no disrespect to him, but I think it wouldn't work at Achilles. I've said it before, Achilles needs someone from the club within, or someone around there who's been there for many years. It needs, like King is now, it needs someone. That's all that anyone else from outside going in would struggle. It needs someone, and so I wish him all the best. And well, if it does start again, that they can push forward.
Yeah, they'll probably be looking for a restart, won't they? They won't want to carry on their results from from this season. That's interesting. Sorry, Adam, I can see you're itching to get a question in, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, do you think? I know you said like it's the excitement of everyone else, like as you grow up, like that you've sort of buzzed off and you've done well off. Like, do you think like as difficult results came in, that made that side of it very difficult to enjoy anyway? And naturally, you weren't enjoying the role as much because it's hard to bounce off people when people are not feeling positive about the football they're playing.
No, not really. I can see it would for a lot, but for me, it weren't about the results, because I believe that in time and working and being able to mould and build, then the results would come eventually. And it weren't about that whole season was about building and staying in that division realistically to go again properly. So results weren't, and if I've got players who are down, I'll try my best to pick them up and do what I can to get them motivated. But yes, it's tough, especially when it's hard to have 11, 12 and all your subs or whatever who are very downhearted with their results, and not seeing a way forward to try and pick them up. And you've got to try and, as a manager on your own, pick all of them up with everything else you're doing at the same time. And it can beat you. It can beat you down.
And I think that's probably where I was going with it. It's like, does it become heavy lifting a bit when it's you doing everyone?
Yeah,
like,
it becomes.
What were you trying in that role to try and cope with getting the vibe going and getting it to how you wanted it, really? Because it must have been tough on your own, mate.
Oh, it was tough. Like you're finally seeing a little like light at the end of the tunnel there, and then something else here that you need to focus on pops up, and then it takes that away from that, and that draws away. And then it was just like a big vicious circle. You were getting it and then getting it. No, it was just tough all round to get anything really spot on when you're on your own. I think it's impossible.
Finding the right thing to focus on, I think, is probably going to be monstrously difficult.
Massively, yeah.
Because it was quite a big task, wasn't it, originally when you did come in at Achilles? There was a lot that needed to happen in terms of, from a whole playing side of things. It kind of needed, I wouldn't say a clear out, but it did need, the club needed to kind of start from scratch again, didn't it? Let's be honest.
It didn't need a clear out because there was no one there anyway.
That's right.
But yeah, the club, look, no disrespect to the club at all, but I think it's very hard unless you got influence there and you're from that area to change a committee's way of thinking who are very, very old school and still believe that they are the Achilles of old.
It's like Ipswich.
It's very hard to change that way of thinking. So yeah, that's what I would say. That's what I'll say on that.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, Adam.
No, it's gone.
I was just going to say, you obviously you mentioned about the management side of things, and that's not what you want to kind of do moving forward now. What are you kind of happy to take on the number 2 role moving forwards? Are you kind of wanting to just get back into some sort of coaching and being just part of a setup of somewhere? Have you kind of given it much thought?
Wherever there's football, I'll be, because football's my life. Always has been, always will be. I'll never lose the love for the game. And whenever it returns, I'll be there. Do you know what? I don't even think I'd want to be a number 2. Right. I think managing and being an assistant is for other people. I would much rather just have, this is you go get my players ready for war, buzz them up, energize them,
right.
Get the body how it should be, the right legs, the arms, the body, the heart all pumping, and get them ready for this game. And that's what I just want to coach, and that's where I want to be. I've realised, took that step up to where I would try and manage. It weren't for me. I've took that now. I realise that now. So for me, it's just solely coaching, and that's where I'm best, and that's where I want to be.
That's interesting on there.
So you sound like you'd learned quite a lot. Like, although you weren't at Achilles a long time as such, so what would you say was the sort of key learn that you took away from it, other than the fact that knowing management wasn't for you, very much the umbrella thing? What would you say were the sort of key things that you took away from it by having that experience as such? Because you now seem quite focused on where you can go next and what you want to do.
Yeah, I'm definitely focused on where I want to go and what I want to do. what I took from Achilles was is that when I put my mind to something, I can build something. Obviously, by generating players and getting them in and building something. Although it didn't work out to be something major and great, at least I knew I could do that. To have that little bit of clout about me. And the other thing is to probably, I don't know, probably just to not always probably jump at the first opportunity.
Right. That's an interesting one.
Choose wisely. I probably in my head, and there's a few people out there who said, "Are you sure Achilles is the right direction?" And everyone said it in before to me that it's got to be run by someone who's there. And I thought, nah, I'll prove you wrong. I'll show you. And
the problem with that, though, the problem with that is though, if you're at this level of the game and somebody like Achilles is available, and then you have that chat and they offer you the role, you can't turn it down. It's like I can't, who am I thinking of? There was somebody that it was related to Ipswich, and they sort of said if they offered me the job, I'm not turning it down. It's like Frank Lampard at Chelsea. They offered him the job. He's not going to go, do you know what, boys? Actually, I'm not up for that. I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
If they offer you the job, you are going to go for it, aren't you?
Yeah, Achilles is a big name, has been for many, many years.
Yeah.
If I'd have looked at it deeper and realised what they didn't have or how little they had there, and seen the size of the job, then I'd have probably looked at it differently.
Fucking hell, Jason! Jesus Christ!
How much of an idea did you have about the size of the job before you actually jumped at it? You clearly knew that it was going to be a task, and people were saying that. I mean, like, what did you know?
I'll be honest with you. When I sat down with them, not so much Ozzy and those, because Ozzy and King and that were straight up and said, "Look, it's a big job, and we want to go a different direction." But when I sat with the chairman and other people, they were telling me that I'd still have the Grimwoods and the other players that are more than capable of playing a little bit higher. And then when you turn up and realise they're not playing, but some of them are playing in the reserves and didn't step up and wouldn't step up, I found that to be firstly disrespectful because you play for the club, but I didn't. For 5-6 games, I never had any of them players playing at all. And that's where it's wrong. But what you find is, and that's what I'm saying about obviously having someone in there who's known in the club, who's been around, is you'll see them players gradually return because someone like that's in charge. Where that's where it's all weird and wrong for me. If you play for a club, you don't play for the reserves. You play for the club, not just at the reserves or the first team. So for me, I've sort of got, I wouldn't say shafted, but not given the opportunity to use those players that were more than capable of playing, and some which would have been different.
I have to get this question in because Daniel's been posting it a couple of times on there. He says, "Can you ask Dino which Bruno he really wanted to sign?"
I don't know. Telling me they'll have to ask Jason Cook. It wasn't me.
Right.
I don't know him. All I know was when Jason Cook come on board with me, I think I had the whole half my team was Portuguese. I had 1 week I had on the bench. Who was it? I think Nuno, Nino, Pino. And they were all on the bench. I was like, who are these people? So yeah, ask Jason Cook, Dan. Ask Jason Cook. I do not know.
Alex is put on here saying Dean will agree, but it's not a Saturday job, it's a 7-day-a-week job, and when you're on your own it's even harder. I've been there with the Ipswich Valley Wanderers. Getting players is hard, it's keeping them it's even harder when other clubs smell blood on there. You mentioned obviously about doing it on your own, etc., and obviously we've got the likes of Ben Moore in the chat who he's talking about what he wants to do moving forward, and he often asks for advice from everyone that kind of comes on, etc. Would one tip be from yourself, if you are going to do it, if you are going to go into that level, you need to be coming with a team, very much like at the higher levels, like the Cowley brothers. They come as part of the package. There's not just one of them. There's a whole coaching network of people behind them. And if you're going to go into that kind of role, you need to have people around you, and you can't just kind of pick things up as you're going along.
You take your squad to the squad. I always believe that about football. You can't just jump at it on your own. Otherwise, you've got too many relationships to build.
Yeah, 100%. Bang on. And one bit of advice for Ben, who's obviously, where's he coaching? Is he coaching younger? Is he?
It's Sowham, I think.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he put it in the chat earlier on. I'll see if I can try and find it on here. But yeah, I think he is at Sowham. Yeah, Sowham Town Rangers youth. From under 7 and 16.
See, that's what I mean. He's at the perfect stages for learning, that age group. But my advice to him would be, being through many things, playing wise, managing wise, coaching wise, is to surround yourself with good people and people who love the game for the game. That's it. And you'll go a long way. As long as you stay true to yourself, don't let people try and mold you into what they want it to be or where they think you should go. Basically, stay true to yourself. Surround yourself with good people who love the game for the game. That's it.
Yeah. Good advice on that. Yeah, Shane said as well, surround yourself with good people. With good football people and create a management team, not alone. Slim has just said have a team as well. Ben's put have an experienced head beside you as well. I guess like a Warnock kind of person. That I mean, does an experienced head matter, or is it just about having people around you that you can trust?
Sometimes an experienced head can be a downfall to someone else who's learning and going a different way, because their experience is going to be something totally different to what they want to experience as people coming through. They might have experienced it in a way that's not been good for them, and they've learned bad habits. So, yeah, like I said, stick to true to who you are. You know, this obviously young lad knows who he is. He knows which direction he want to go. So stay true to that. And like Shane said, like stay around good people. You can't go wrong.
I think it's quite hard when you go in and you don't know people. You've got older people there. You start then looking at change resistance and stuff, and that doesn't always allow you to mold into the person that you want to be.
No,
and won't allow you to bring maybe your entire personality to any role. I think that's true for life, not just football. But there's some solid advice in there around getting that team of people around yourself to really be able to push on.
That's the only way you can do it properly.
Do you think things would have worked out any differently if you had that team around you, or do you think that based on
honestly, there
it's been the right?
Honestly, at that club, probably nothing would have changed, no matter who I had around me, what I had in place. No, nothing would have changed.
Right.
Okay. How long was it until you started to realise that it started to affect you mentally?
Do you know what? I wasn't even aware of it. That's how bad it got me. Really? I think it took me, and this guy, that's what I mean by he's basically looked after me since me ever meeting him. Stuart Spreadbridge, I owe a lot to. Firstly at Westerfield when I was with Ozzy's basically number 2, and I'd done all his coaching. And he won't know this, but there's times where I was struggling. But just being around him and watching him and the way he had passion for things picked me up and made me feel better. So there you go, Spreads. That's for you. Thank you. But not only that, it was just even people like him. Like he was at a game. I can't remember we were playing, and I'm never quiet. I'm on the sideline and I'll kick every ball with my player, and I'll be talking. I love it. That's how much I'm involved, and I wasn't. And it took for me to realise Spread saying to me, I think it was only at half time, "You're right. You're quiet. You're never quiet." And I literally just sat in the dugout. And then it took Spread to say that for me to then realise, actually, no, I'm not all right. And that's the point where I then realised, no, I've got to stop here now. Done.
And you took action straight away at that point.
Yeah, pretty much. Come home and said to my wife, like, I can't do it no more. It took the full timeness of it took time away from my little man. Obviously, I've got my older son, my wife, and it just took away my life, work, all the time with football and mentally, and obviously trying to do that there was pretty much like done me writing.
Yeah. How like looking back between yourselves, like when you speak to your wife and like do you ever chat about it now and just sort of say, right decision made, didn't realize what state we were in at the time because of how it was making me feel? Or like,
I think for about a month after, I think I just constantly apologized for being poor, shit father, shit husband for that period of time. And and it made me realize. And when it gets to that point, it's not good. You got to look at the bigger picture and think, what's more important, like football or my mental health of my family, and that comes first.
Yeah.
Were you thinking through that point that you could probably still do management at one point, and it's been a long-term reflection that's made you realize that coaching's the way to go? Or was it at that point your mind was switched off and it's like, I've possibly done something that I don't ever want to do again?
I think a mixture of the both, really. I think, it affected my mental health is a massive turning point anyway. Nothing, you should never let anything affect your mental health and your family, ever. Yeah. Obviously, sometimes with mental health, you can't help that. It just happens. But you got to have your family there to help you. So if you're not being the person you should be, then they'll always be there. But you can't just take that for granted. And that's what I learned. You can't take things for granted. And it's a mixture of both that made me realize that, it's not for me.
Yeah. So the thing was, sorry, I just want to just quickly ask, because obviously at the beginning of the season, we were talking about Achilles quite a lot when there was football going on, and we were reflecting on the results. And I'd often see you in the chat, and you were defending yourself, and you were defending the club, and things, when things weren't going quite right. You mentioned that obviously Stuart, and that turning point that you realised that things weren't going quite right. Were there points when, this particular show, for example, and the comments that you were getting, was any of that affecting you? And I mean that in the nicest possible way, because obviously we look at things from the outside and we go, right, Achilles lost 3-0 today. Yeah, it's not a good result for them. They really need to start picking things up. But when it's actually you that we're talking about, do you see where I'm coming from? Did that
when it comes to
affect things?
Obviously, when it comes to the social media and the results, and at the end of the day, you're the manager, and you've still got to be positive about the situation. You can't just get downhearted about it and go, oh, look what they're saying. Or at the end of the day, that's the result. And I'd say it to anyone else, it's poor. It is. And fair enough. Bottom line is, when you're on social media, you can't go on there and say, well, I'd put on there, we were poor today and we deserved the battering or whatever it was. But on the plus side, we've got this, we've got that, and we look forward to coming back stronger. And you got to also have that in you. If not, you might as well give up there and then.
Right. As you can't hide there, can you, anymore, Dean?
You can't hide anywhere. No matter what you say, what you do, whoever you're about, it's always going to be seen, heard, or flipped by someone else. And I think I've realised since lockdown's helped me massively. Like with my mental illness, bipolar, I actually quite like being in. Right. I weren't a very social person anyway. I used to go to football, love football. I'll go to work, I'll come home. I weren't one for going down the pub with my mates. I'd rather just stay in and chill with my missus and enjoy that time. And I weren't a big one going out. So this is not a bad thing, but it's helped me reflect massively and to look at who I am and actually what I want to do. So yeah, reflection wise, That's
really good, actually, because we hear a lot of the negative sides of lockdown, but it's actually quite good to hear that you've taken things the complete opposite way.
Yeah. What else can you do? You can either, in a negative situation we're in that we're forced upon us, why make it worse? You got to think of the bigger picture. Like I say, I've sat down and I've thought about myself, what I want to do, where I want to go, who I want to be. I lost myself for a bit and I lost my way. When it comes to football, it just turns you into, do you know what I mean? Everyone says, oh, Dino, he's everywhere, he's there, he's a laugh, he's a bubble. But what people don't realise is that some of that over the years has been basically like a mask. I say mask, no pun intended. And there's a lot of players out there who have that same mask on, who go to football, who are the clown and the thing. But speak to them, because I guarantee you now they're the ones that are struggling.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them.
With like anxiety and depression, it's obvious. It's a feedback loop. Sometimes you just get stuck in it, and it goes round and round. It takes a big decision or an intervention to sort of step out of that. what was your coping mechanism to actually then get yourself right? You said you're clearly affected for a month even after stepping out of things, and for me, like, I've got experience of it as well, and as every day goes on and you're feeling like that, it doesn't make you feel any more positive about things.
No, it doesn't.
What were you doing to try and? You must have been having lived with something that's affected you so much for so long. What were you doing to try and step yourself out of it and get yourself?
I'm quite fortunate. I'm quite fortunate, Adam, in the sense of before I was diagnosed, I had help, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I spent a little time away. I had to put myself away for a little while to basically make myself right. If not, God knows where I'd have been, and I wouldn't have had what I have now. But I was quite blessed and fortunate to have someone teach me CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, which is just changing the way you think about things and do things. And like I said, when you've lived with it for so long, no matter what situation is thrown at you, you can. There's a way around it. Not hide from it when I say around it, but you deal with it. It might take a week, it might take a day, it might take 2 months. Whatever that process is, you have to go for it. And that's what I put on the show before. You have to talk. Not everyone is blessed to have had that teaching that I've had. So not everyone can just automatically think like that. But trust me, give it time and think about things differently, and you can change it to make it a positive rather than negative. That's my outlook now, is whatever negative is thrown at me, I'm going to turn it into a positive somehow.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah, I mean, I've been quite open a couple of times on the show recently where I sort of say that, you know, I've gotten help for various different things in the past and whatnot. It's difficult sometimes to kind of know where to turn when that kind of thing's happening. So I suppose it kind of goes back to the question that Adam sort of asked. You know, how did you know that, or when did you kind of realize that you needed to seek that, and how were you able to do that rather than somebody else saying it to you?
In what way do you mean?
You know, when you talked about previously where you kind of you sort of set yourself up with the CBT courses and that kind of stuff like that, and you check yourself in and stuff. How were you able to spot that? Because sometimes it takes somebody else to, as Adam quite rightly said,
sometimes it does. Sometimes it takes other people to see what you can't see.
Yeah.
But then when they do, what I'd say to you, if someone does say something to you or that you don't seem right, if you're not, just say.
Yeah.
Because the longer you deny it, like Shane put in there, obviously he masked when he rest her soul, bless her, when she died. I remember I went to the funeral and he masked. He used football as a mask, and there's a lot of people that do it. So if someone is struggling, let's face, for instance, Adam said to you, you're not right. Like, don't just do the whole manly thing that we were brought up to do, where we're not allowed to show no emotion, we're not allowed to say anything. Man up, bollocks, bollocks to it. Have a big fucking cry, have a big man cuddle, and go and sort yourself out. Accept help. That's the only way you're going to get better, by saying, do you know what, you're right, I'm not right. How can I help myself? How can I do this? So whoever's out there listening, turn to one of your mates, turn to your brother, your sister, whoever, and just give them a big cuddle and say it's all right.
I think I don't know what your experience is, Dean, but I found myself like trying to put up with a problem was endlessly worse compared to actually just getting the help and getting it sorted.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where it becomes pretty debilitating, and you're making everyone else's life a misery before you sort yourself out.
How long can you put up with a problem if you don't sort it? You'll just keep taking it on the chin, and like you said, it'll just get worse and worse and worse before it gets too much where you put that mask on and it's okay, it's the norm. No, it's not the norm, and it's not okay. Yeah, it's okay to go and get help and ask for it. Like, he won't mind me saying, because he put it on social media, like Dan Barnard on there a little while back, that he was struggling. And there's quite a few of us, myself included, who reached out, and just that reaching out. And you know what? Hats off to Dan, because that is not him saying, oh, blah, blah, blah. That's him saying, I need some help. That's the prime example. That's a little cry for help. And I guarantee you now, you ask him, everyone with his comments, just pick him up that little bit to make him feel okay. And that's what you need.
Yeah.
That simple.
Yeah. As I have to admit, there's been probably a few days recently where I've, not been coping very well. And I've kind of just shrunk into myself. And Adam noticed it a couple of weeks back, didn't you? Where you kind of pointed out and sort of said to me, I haven't heard from you in a few days. How is everything? Are you, what are you doing? What are you up to? And I don't know why I just kind of shrunk in. I didn't look for that outside help.
Yeah, I think, but you know what though? It's okay to have that shrink in and have your time to focus and what's going on. Do you know what I mean? But if you don't spot it, that's where it's concerning, because someone else like Adam might have to say something. But if he does, you're now fully aware of it, which means you're now acceptable to help getting some sort of adjustment or help yourself, or get someone else to talk to you to help you. So the fact that you're aware of it is a good thing, because you're aware.
Yeah. It's a trigger, isn't it? It's exactly like what Spreads did with yourself. It's triggered the thought in your mind to say, yeah, what I'm doing isn't right. What I was going to say is, I think work at the moment, and it'll roughly lead on to with what you're doing in football, is it's too easy for people now they're working at home to not stop working. And you lose, you have a complete disconnect with what's normal. I don't want to use the phrase work-life balance in this conversation, because it's nonsense. Like, we all understand that we should have our own personal time, but it's too easy to have your laptop in front of you all the while, not do the things that make you feel good, or make the time to challenge yourself and do the things that prove to yourself that you could do them. And therefore, all of those feelings get worse. They go round, and you just feel worse, and you get bogged down and trapped in it. And then it takes a lot more effort to pull yourself back out. Now, when you were saying about football, all of a sudden being a full-time job, you've got a full-time job. So all of a sudden you're losing your balance. You're losing that thing in your life where you can actually take yourself away and do something which isn't having to be work constantly. And I can see how you can get into that muddle.
Like, it's very easy to get into it. It's very quick to get into it, but very difficult to come out of it. That's the thing.
You've been struggling to get me sorted, haven't you, Adam, recently? Because I am finding myself working till 8-9 o'clock every evening with my job, because, as you said, the laptop is there. The worry is that the things then don't get done, and then the pressure on top of that. But as Adam quite rightly keeps pointing out to me, if you were in the office, you wouldn't be there till 9 o'clock. So why are you sat there 9 o'clock? Because you're at home. And
you're only hurting yourself. You're only hurting yourself. You're not. The company will still be there the next day.
There's got to be a shut off time. You've got to give yourself time to just allow your brain just to stop for a second. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And just do nothing. Like, turn your phone off. Like, if you're at home and you're with your family, who else is going to really need you? Turn your phone off. Turn your phone off. And just have that time just chilling. Go and have a long bar for an hour. Put some music on. Chill out. I don't care. I'm a big man. Put some candles in there. Sod it. Do you know what I mean? Just have some time. When do we ever, as men, really look after ourselves and go, oh, do you know what? I'm going to have some me time. We don't. We put, we'll do this. We go to work a weekend. I'll put the stuff in the loft. And you never have time for yourself. And you've got to. That's it.
Yeah.
Do agree.
Absolutely agree. Jason, sod it. I'm going to climb into the top bump and give me my wife a cuddle.
Do it.
Absolutely love that, mate. No, we're getting a lot of people that are actually openly saying, sort of in the chat at the moment, that things are getting, again, Psycho for Sports here. I'm struggling at the moment with keeping up with home life, hence the delay in launching. But family comes first. It's
there's no harm in that, is there? Because putting family first is going to make sure that things don't catch up with you later on, I think.
Yeah, the thing is with Sidekick for Sports is, and this is another thing people fail to mention there, is yes, family are important, but unless you put yourself first, you're not going to be there for your family. So you come first. You come first. It's not a bad thing where you're saying, oh, I'm going to put myself before my family. If you're not putting yourself first and looking after yourself, you're not going to be good enough for your family to be around there and to benefit them. So Psychic for sports, you come first. Yeah. Then you can be there for your family and everything else. Have you first. We don't do it enough, men. You first.
Like, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, Dean. But what do you do? What do you do for a living? What is your job?
I'm a yard foreman at a builder's merchants.
Okay. Have you thought about becoming a motivational speaker? Because you are getting some love in the chat tonight, my friend. You really are.
I have on occasions been and done talks about thinking, mental health, other bits and pieces in workplaces, etc. But
really,
again, it's something I'd like to do. I get, like, as you can tell, I'm passionate about it because I believe the only way people can learn properly is from people who've experienced it themselves.
Yeah.
You can pay anyone thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds a year who went to college and learned about, no disrespect if there's anyone on here. But you got to have that core understanding and feeling about it, and actually be one to come out of it.
Yeah, definitely. So, sorry, Adam, were you about to say something on that?
Yeah, I agree with that massively, and I almost think that before I struggled with anything, I was a lot more blasé about the fact of the actual existence of mental health and what it did to people. It wasn't the fact that I didn't believe it was a thing. It's just I didn't realise the effect it had on people, and I didn't realise the effect that help can have, or how easy help is to come by if you just ask somebody. There's the whole suffer in silence thing that goes around, isn't there, with mental health? Sort of say that people suffer in silence too easily and everything, and you don't even have. Yeah, go on.
That's because, Adam, we've always been brought up, and it's not sexist because it's the way men have been brought up. Like I said earlier, we've always been brought up to man up. Don't cry. We're not allowed to cry. We're not allowed to show emotion. So all we've done since we were little toddlers is just hide it. That's why now it's so hard for men, and probably women as well, but for men, we're talking men here, to actually express the way they feel, especially in a football environment, because we know there's banter, and people will rip the shit out here and whatever it is. But like I said before the show, I'm telling you now, if you open up and say to your mates or anyone in football, I'm struggling, no matter what team, rival, a player you've just been sent off for smashing absolutely 10 bales of poo out of, they will be there to put an arm around you and help you in any way they can. So just don't be ashamed. Open up. It's fine.
I think some of the stuff we had with the charity stuff beforehand proves how well people come together at a time of need on a big scale. I think people should remember almost how well people will come together to help you. And like you say, there isn't anything to be ashamed of just having a chat about things. I don't think anything is a stupid question or a stupid way to feel anymore. It's just the way things are.
It's like Ben Moore's just put on there, that he's been feeling shit, obviously about his mates moved to Brighton Uni, whatever that is, and he's always. This is the thing, he's feeling shit, but he's still all he's doing is asking if they're okay, and it comes back to what I said a minute ago. Ben Moore, you first. Your mates are big boys, they've got big boy pants on. They're going to uni. They're going to be having a hell of a time when it opens up. You first, then worry about them.
Yeah, definitely.
Hashtag you first.
I like it. Hashtag you first. Bringing this conversation around full circle, then, in terms of you in football. What does football mean to you now that you've had some time to sort of sit down and reflect on everything that's gone on this season and stuff, and what you want to do moving forward? What does football mean to you
at this moment in time? Absolutely nothing.
Wow.
Absolutely nothing. Because there's more to life than football. Yeah, and I'm saying that, and people on this show who know me know that's a big thing to say from me. But this whole COVID, like I said, this whole lockdown thing and COVID thing has made me realise there's more importance in life than football. But when football does come back, don't get me wrong, I'll be the one there and I'll be loving it and I'll be doing it. But right now, football, as the way it stands, means nothing.
Yeah.
What means everything to me right now is my little boy's asleep upstairs, my wife is asleep upstairs, and the fact that I'll get up in the morning and go to bloody work.
You can't pay for the takeaways otherwise, mate.
Oh.
That's something I've learned. That's one thing I've learned from lockdown. Yeah, I do. Everything has paled into insignificance, hasn't it? Really, like outside of family and making sure everyone stays healthy, and it is worrying times. I just hope that when we all open up, that nice social element of everything, have a bit of buzz about it when we can get together in whatever form it may be. You know, I remember back to the summer when it was rule of 6 or whatever. I would pay a lot of money to just get together with 6 people and have a wander around right now.
100%. 100%.
Just
the
to
world
be able to
we live in.
lovely. Yeah, you know, as much as I've enjoyed, like I don't know about you, but through lockdown, I feel like I've got so much closer to my family and so much closer to my son and stuff like that. Like, but for you, James, because of his age, it's going to be a very different feeling, isn't it? When we go back to being the point when you're at work every day. And do you think your experience is going to be different to what others is? Because your son's only about 1 anyway, isn't he? So all he's known is lockdown life.
Well, I think, I don't know, I'm kind of viewing it in the way that I'm quite happy that if it has happened, it's happened now. That it's not hopefully going to have too much detriment to his kind of development, so to speak, and that when we do eventually get out of this, he will be fine, because from a social aspect, as and when we have been able to meet up with people, he's still been absolutely fine. If anything, he's probably been far better. He definitely doesn't take after me. He's an incredibly social person. So from that respect, I think he should be fine. But you just don't know, do you? You just don't know what kind of an impact it's going to have. You know, for me, I'm kind of more worried about your side of things, Adam, because obviously Finley's at that age where, you know, it's become a struggle, hasn't it? Just keeping him entertained every day.
Has it? I don't know how old yours is, Dean, but Christ, it's tough. Like
mine's not. I was actually at the hospital when James then come out of having theirs. So not same sort of age, very similar age, but I just see it as, again, putting a positive on it, is anyone his age is going to have the same. They're grown up in the same situation, so they'll all be. Yeah, that's unfortunately that's the norm for them. As the norm for many others is different, but his age group, and they've all experienced the same. They are lockdown babies as such, and it's what it is. It's about how we adapt and teach them going forward, and how they come out at the end.
It's odd because I was used to going to work at 6:30 in the morning and coming home at 7 at night, so not really seeing him for the whole week. To now working, I haven't been to work since November, not last year, but the year before. November 2019 was the last time I went to work. So my life has changed so dramatically through one thing and another. I don't actually know at this point how I would cope to having to go back to normality, or what used to be normality.
That's the thing. Obviously, it's hard to change and adapt to certain things, but one day at a time, and gradually over time, and things changing, it will ease off, and things will be normal again. But like I say, being off since November, so long old thing.
Yeah, definitely. What was Ben's comment? I'm a massive usage fan, and how bad we're doing is making me think, what is the point? All I used to do is talk to my great granddad about them, and now me and my dad talk about how bad we are. Yeah, that's very true. Football, as much as people say it's good for the mental health, sometimes as well, especially when you're in lockdown and things aren't going quite well, it's also, it can have quite a negative side as well, doesn't it?
Yep.
Slim, don't like this lockdown diet, neither does my scales. Again, that's another point as well. It's, you know, I've piled on absolutely God knows how much weight since lockdown began, and again, from a mental side of things as well, that does have a bit of a bearing on you as well, doesn't it? It does get you down when, you know, it's difficult. I'm struggling with the motivational side of things from that respect.
I'm going to use scales that just have 3 markings on them that say underweight, okay, and fat. And I won't know what I am. I'll just stay in the fat category.
I'll be in there with you.
I just want to get I had a couple of people posting in messages to me asking for, because we asked people to get some questions in for you before the show kind of kicked off. I just want to get those up on there, so bear with me just 2 seconds. I've got to try and find the link that I had. They posted that last time
from you, James.
I know I've been too busy in this chat. That's the problem. I'm normally sitting there in the background flipping between screens or whatever.
I know someone's asked you the horror show question of what is your Sunday League best 11, which is
yes, yeah.
I saw that and I thought if you managed to answer that, you're a better man than me.
Sunday League,
yeah,
best 11. I could probably reel it off. To be fair,
go on then.
I'll go. Oh, I'm gonna have to say it. Slim in goal.
He will love that.
We're not going to get shot now.
Right back. There's a guy at Shotley Rose who I've played with. I can't remember his bloody name. I remember him being an absolute whippet. Used to do all my running. And then centre half, big old Paulie Adams, who's at Shotley Rose. And then probably Ryan Wardley at Kitchener. Left back, Lee Manley or Anton Clark, the general.
Get him in there.
Midfield is another guy, Steve Adams from Shotley, Kieran Manley for Shotley when we played there. Oh my God, Sundays. Striker wise, Seeks back in the Seeks was ridiculous. Still can be now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's still got it in him.
Yeah, probably my brother when he was in his prime. He's a fat bastard now.
I was gonna say you got family brownie points there, and now you've absolutely destroyed that.
Yeah, he'd nail me. He'd absolutely nail me if he was saying. But yeah, he was decent. I've played with loads of Sunday League footballers, mainly Shotley Rose boys and Kitchener boys. Who we used to have some right tear ups at Kitchener with the belted arms. That was some right tear ups.
When did you stop playing yourself, Jane?
You are?
When did you stop playing?
I'll still play now if someone let me. I think that. When did I stop playing? Actually, I played a game. Did I play a game? I probably played for Westerfield. I think I did. Spreads. You had to play that game. We were short. When he was 18, you got Stone. Probably at Cranes, probably a couple of years ago. But I used to put on as a running joke. You probably seen Sean Watson mention it on Twitter or whatever about 17, you fat twat. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
For a while, I think it was when Aston. It was brilliant. I come on with my tight old shirt. I couldn't get picked. I had to peel it off after. Some old proper village boy was watching. And I think I want us. Oh, come on! I want us a pen. Change the game completely. And he was hurling a bit. You're 17, you fat twat. Get off. 17, you fat twat. And obviously that was all on video, and that was brilliant. So yeah, I used to love peeling the shirt off.
We've had Shem who said, "How does Dino have his pancakes?"
Whole.
I can't wait for that tomorrow.
Pancakes. I'm just a plain bit of lemon and sugar.
Yeah.
Don't fancy it up and that. Just treat it what it should be, a pancake.
But maple syrup and bacon's not for you?
Nah.
Don't know what you're missing.
Nah. Just lemon and sugar.
Lemon and sugar. We had Matthew over on Instagram who said, "Who is the best manager that you've played under?"
Oh no! Ooh. What a horrible question.
Who asked that?
Matthew 21. I'll have to try and find out. I have to try and find out
what relation manager played under.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say Glenn Driver and Tony Kinsella when they were together, when I played for Felixstowe Walton.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the reason behind that?
I had a manager at Whitton, but I wouldn't call him. I wouldn't say he's the best manager, although he was a manager. He's more where I got a bit of my inspiration coaching wise from as well was Ian Brown.
Yeah,
he
incredible.
Got on here the other week for someone else, didn't he?
Anton, I believe.
Was it Anton that mentioned Ian?
I think he said about me as well. Yeah, mind you, me and Brownie had a hell of a tear up, Clacton away. That was decent. I think I cussed out one of his boys. I don't think that was Ollie. That was the other one. Gosh. Oh, we're about to tear it up. We were Clacton away on the old sand pit. But yeah, Tony Kinsella, driver.
We've had Jamie say on here, have you recovered from that overhead kick you've done and injured yourself when playing for Kesgrave Kestrels in that friendly?
That sounds like an embarrassing story.
All right, do you know when? Right, I'm a big guy, right? But that just sat perfect. I was thinking Rooney, Man City. Oh, mate. To be fair, I have got that in the locker. But when I was a bit slimmer, but oh my god, when my back hit the floor and all my fat followed it, wow, that hurt. That hurt.
Did you even jump in the air shouting Rooney?
Well, in your head, you're thinking, "God, I got quite high." But I reckon if someone was filming it, might as well have just done a backwards roly poly. So yes, Jamie, I remember it.
Oh, see if I could try and get some of these other questions. I had quite a few on Instagram, weirdly enough. I don't know. See if I can try and get some of them up on there. We had
Fred's put in there. Old Newton away, mate. You lost 10-2. You played 90 at 36.
That was me and Spreads. We both played at Spreads. I had to play at the back, and that's when we were struggling, obviously. And Spreads come on.
I remember
mate. What's his name up top? Who was the guy who was there at Old Newton, but then went to like Hadley or wherever he went? Was banging in goals for fun.
God, I can't remember now. So there was someone.
What's his name? Anyway, oh my God, I've never seen. Well, I can't move anymore anyway, but his movement was ridiculous. And then Spreads come on, and absolutely his first touch nutmeg this little young winger.
Oh no, killed him.
That was it though. He couldn't do no more after.
Done one and break my wrist. Wow.
Whilst I find these other questions that I had sent in, we've got one from Damien in the chat here. It says, although your time at Achilles was short, do you think you learned the most coaching wise, and would you do anything differently now? We've kind of already touched a little bit on this already, but what do you think you've learned the most coaching wise?
What I've learned the most coaching wise, not a lot at Achilles, because like I say, I couldn't do what I wanted to do coaching wise with what I had and how it was going all on my own. But the bloke who obviously asked this question, Damien Brown, he's at Cranes with Rads and TJ. But this guy here, he also do a Sunday side. Tactically, coaching wise, is an absolute genius. So if any youngsters out there want to go and watch people tactically minded, and positive, encouraging, and coaching wise, also go see this guy when he does his Cranes Boys in his Sunday side, because he's different gravy. His brain is ridiculous.
No 4-4-2 direct there.
Damo's straight on the point. Boom.
Brilliant. So we got a lot of people saying Matt Hayden. Is that who you're referring to?
Yeah, he absolutely rinsed me.
I can't remember who he's playing for this season. He signed for another furlough none team this season, I think.
So
goes where the money is.
I'm still trying to find these questions. I don't know why it's so bloody hard to find them on Instagram. I might have to dabble onto my phone in a minute. I think I had somebody asked me, what was the question they were asking? Oh, it's gone now. Absolutely.
We're trying to get someone that I know with the worst possible memory to remember something.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that was the one. Yeah, sorry, we had it on here. So we had Ed who said, "What has been your happiest time in football?"
Oh, good question.
My happiest time in football would be when I was young, and that would be with the Ipswich Academy up in Newcastle, beating Celtic in a final 3-0.
How old were you then?
I was about 14. And then we come back for the day of Sheepshanks. We got presented with the trophy on the Ipswich Town pitch, and they were losing at the time. So obviously they got some stick, and they was, "Oh, get these on." And so yeah, that was the best. Oh, that was incredible. Oh. Is that where he's at now, Brampton?
There you go. I think that's what Dan's answered in the chat there as well. So yeah, there was a couple of questions on there, and apologies if people are watching this from Instagram because I can't see. I don't know why, but it's just not working and not playing ball on there. Any other questions you've got, Adam, off the top of your head? Whilst I just try, I'm going to have one last look for these.
No, I don't think so. It's been quite a deep and meaningful conversation tonight. I've very much enjoyed it. I've appreciated how open you've been as well, Dean, because mental health's a difficult topic. Like, I know like people get more and more used to talking about it as you learn to deal with it, but still to tell an open platform about it isn't any easier than anything else. So I appreciate that. And I think from the comments, a lot of people appreciated you sharing your thoughts on the process and how they can help themselves, because it is all about how you help yourselves. It's not about, you have to start by helping yourself.
Absolutely.
Come to you.
Like I say, you said it there. Obviously, it's about being open. But if you're not open, you're closed, and that's not a good place to be. So that's the only way. You have to be open to be able to help anything, yourself, anyone else. Like I say, that's the way it's got to be. But for me, I'm quite comfortable in the fact I can speak about myself and my mental illness, however, and help anyone who wants help, because I've adapted and learned and come to terms with how to deal with my illness over many, many years. So it's okay for me. I still have my times, but I know how to get out of those times myself, which not many people know how to do. So if anyone wants any help, like I say, private message me and I'll speak to you. I'll even teach you ways with the CBT, that little things you can do yourself to just literally take that edge off. Little things. So I'm more than happy to help people.
That's massive, Dean. Thank you.
Yeah,
no worries.
With Bill Casey's put a question in before we end tonight's show, saying, seen and refereed Dean a few times, mainly at Spirit centre half at Shotley Rose. Which position did he enjoy best, at centre back or centre forward?
My natural position was centre half. So, but if I was playing these days, I'd much prefer to be a forward, a big old, obviously forward. Anton Clark, when I was at Whitton, played off me with Ian Brown's son Josh, because they were short strikers, and I was the big target man, and blah blah. So in today's football, if there was football, I'd rather be a striker because you just get away with absolute murder. But back in the day, if we're talking back in the day, I'd have to be a centre half, and I'm talking when I play properly, where you can absolutely like proper 50-50s. No one backed out, and you got up and like told him one of them. Do you know what I mean? You could absolutely nail someone, and that's when football was football for me.
Yeah, definitely.
So centre half.
Fergus has put, you're always welcome at Stanton any Saturday to give the boys a good warm up or grab a beer afterwards. Alex has said, I'd quite happily have you on my coaching team anytime, mate. Damien, great insight, Dino. I agree with a lot. It comes down to knowing yourself, and you're a great example of being comfortable in your own skin. Absolutely love that. I'll tell you what, let's keep you on for the Super Six, because obviously it's one that you get quite involved in regularly. Adam, talk to us about this week's Super Six. What has happened then?
I had great fun in completing the results this week. It took 16 people for me to go through before I got someone that had a correct score. So,
Christ, bad week.
Yeah, we're all great. Tables haven't actually changed that much. Shem had a reasonably good week, I think. Spreads had a poor week. This is the actual monthly chart. Yeah. So this month we're running a competition where you'll win a retro football shirt that's been provided by Non-League Football Shop. And Irv has gone to the top. I mean, he still needs a reminder every week to actually enter, but he's top of the top of the shop at the minute. So it all looks a little bit different at the moment. And it's good to have some different names in there. Like if we look at the full table, there are quite a few names on that table there that have not been up there before.
Let's bring up the full table then.
So table.
Am I correct in saying that I didn't enter in again this week?
Yeah, you are, mate.
Right, marvelous. There's 2 weeks in a row that I haven't entered. Fantastic.
Yeah, I need to look at my computer closely, but I think that says 37.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just looking even closer, and I can see that I'm in 9th.
Yeah, all right.
Cool. Okay. So not too much change at the top. There was a few, but what's happened really is that people have gained points on spreads. There's quite a few people just immediately below him that scored more points than him. So that narrowed a little bit this week. A bit of a, I want that shirt. You've got to go for it, Jordan. You've got to keep entering, mate. Herb has managed to get himself onto the actual leaderboard now. And Slim, I think you moved up a few places as well. So there was a little bit of movement, but to be honest, when everyone's scoring just 2 or 3 points, it's all fairly similar. It's just compressed the whole table a little bit. I don't think there was any massive movers other than Herb actually joining us.
Yeah.
Like your dad, for example, did really well last week and moved a lot of places, James, Steve.
Yeah, and then got 1 point this week, I see.
So, there haven't been any consistent movers for the last couple of weeks.
Definitely. Well, this week's Super Six, let's bring the fixtures up on the screen here, as we always do. The link for the Super Six is going into the chat now. It'll be available Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. Just click the link and enter for this week. So we've got Norwich versus Rotherham, Ipswich versus Oxford, Mansfield versus Cambridge, Crawley versus Colchester, Southend versus Bolton, and Dover versus Kings Lynn in the National League. Ben saying I've got to get on this at starting this week. Is absolutely buzzing. I can tell how happy.
He should be happy with that score.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, if you want to get involved with a chance to win the football shirt, then for this month's private, make sure you enter this week. Daniel Barnard has already put in Lambert nil, Oxford 3 as a score prediction. I think I did enter my one because I'd done it before we went live when I was waiting for everyone to join into the chat. I entered my predictions. I have said 2-1 Oxford.
I don't know where Oxford are in the table.
It doesn't matter. It's how bad Ipswich are doing. That's the point.
Well, that's true.
But yeah, if you want to get involved in it, get your predictions in, and be in with a chance of winning that football shirt. Right. People want us to talk about it. Let's talk about Ipswich Town and everything that went on this afternoon and this morning. Dean, have you seen what happened at the training ground for Ipswich today?
It's gone viral. It's amazing.
What do you think about it, Dean? I want to get your thoughts and opinions on it first of all, before we get the chat's thoughts and our thoughts on it. What do you reckon?
I think they could have used a different colour flair, maybe. Maybe green and yellows. Give it a bit more of a punt. But look, the fans are speaking, and they've been speaking for a while. He's got to go. Like, how long can you leave it? I know Lambert's laughing. He's on a 5-year contract, getting paid, I believe, the same sort of money as what Championship managers higher up again.
Higher Championship managers.
He's never ever going to walk. Why would you? He's laughing, and you've got our owner who ain't got no balls.
Yeah.
And
they don't care about the fans, and the fans will always win.
Because I think it's gone down a bit 50-50, hasn't it? We've got a lot of people who are saying, do you know what? Fair play to Blue Action. There's not an awful lot you can do in a pandemic. You can't get a massive group of people together. But what they have done is that they have put posters up, they've put banners up all around Portman Road, and now they've gone to the training ground and they've done the only thing realistically they can do by following the current rules and guidelines and all this kind of stuff set out by the government. They've done what they feel is the next step. And obviously when people can start getting together, they'll be able to do something far bigger. You've got then the other half of the people who are saying it's completely irresponsible. They shouldn't be doing it. It should be getting behind the team. How do you kind of view it? Because for me, I think, and as somebody obviously as a Norwich fan, I really shouldn't give two shits, but like, do you know what I mean? Fair play to him for actually doing something rather than just sitting there and talking, because a lot of people can sit online and talk, but it's actually getting out there and doing something, which those guys are actually done. So I think fair play to them, hats off to them, because I think it takes a lot to do that.
I mean, they've done something that's gone viral, and that will have an impact.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
Exactly that. It's all good on social media saying this after a game and post. That's not going to get nowhere.
No, it's not going to do shit.
Making
it's not
a
going to do
statement.
shit.
Exactly. So make a statement that's going viral, but yes, it's going to go viral, but it's still not going to change anything. The only way you're going to make Marcus Evans go, oh, what's going on, is by affecting him in his pocket.
You've got to hit his
so
pocket.
all these people that watch, I've been a sucker for it. All these people that pay £10 to watch the iFollow, you're still feeding into him. So we're sitting there you're cussing him on social media, going, oh, he's a bloody blah blah blah. Yet you're still giving £10 to his pocket.
Yeah. He's laying on a sofa being fed grapes with your £10.
Like that. Oh, £10 iFollow, lovely.
Like literally, that is Marcus Evans. Like,
keep feeding me money.
Yeah,
it's like that's the only way you're going to hurt Mark. That's the only way Marcus Evans will step up and realise is when you affect him financially. Other than that, he's got no interest whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I know Lee O'Neill, and I know his family, and I know his brother used to play for Cranes with us as well. So people give him a lot of stick, and some of it rightly so. But on the other hand, he's very puppeted. He's very led into what he has to say and what he can't say, and it all feeds down from obviously Mr. Evans.
Yeah.
So he's got to say what he's got to say to keep his job.
The problem is with him is that he's being asked to do everything.
Yeah.
Because the owner doesn't have a clue what he's doing. That's the problem. He shouldn't be in control of that many things all at one go.
All it does is take the focus off of that's what Evans wants. It takes the focus off of him and give someone else on screen to go, oh yeah, he's the one to blame then, and then he's now the scapegoat.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, should have Ipswich got rid of Mick McCarthy?
Yeah. Well,
Adam, what are your thoughts on that being an Ipswich fan?
To start with, I looked at it and I thought, oh no, like this is going to be the tin pot allegations coming all over the place. And then I thought, do you know what? As things started going, I thought they've actually gone out there, made a statement that's got some traction because so many people feel the way that they were promoting. So many people were on that Lambert out. Everyone felt like that online, but no one could really go there and do it because of COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
So how do you have a virtual protest? Well, everyone that's feeling that way retweets, quote tweets, comments, and all of a sudden it starts getting picked up by much bigger football pages, and then goes again and goes again. And a small action by 4 people has now got massive traction. And what else is tagged onto that video? Stuart Taylor wandering over to everyone, getting really arsey and having to go back at them. And it just shows the division in the club between the coaching staff and the team and the way the fans feel. Because no one in their right mind would have normally have gone over and made that intervention. If you make an intervention, you have a sensible conversation. You don't do whatever that nonsense was that he tried on and sarcastic sort of comeback that he was trying.
Yeah, so, but he's a hothead though, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He doesn't think, he doesn't react. He switches and he loses it. You see it all the time on the sidelines when he's supposed to be encouraging. He just, do you know what I mean? You hear people talking about it, he just stands there and shouts and swears and has a go at people. Do you know what I mean? He never takes that step back and just reflects and just thinks about what he does before he does it.
At this point, though, the week or the weekend, if we count Friday to Monday, that club has had, they have completely lost their mind. We'll start off with what happened with Norwood, mocking somebody's appearance, which turned out to be the person he was likening to is Dazzel's cousin. Which
is what Ben has said on air.
Their game then got cancelled 45 minutes beforehand, which just let everyone take to social media and mock them with the typical, "Oh, I travelled all the way up there for nothing." Do you know? And that just went everywhere. Then it turned out that they didn't want to play. They said it wasn't logistically possible to play the next day. So it's your typical rumours. Oh, they don't want it. They're not up for it. Then when that's already fresh in the mind, that happens today at training and people actually start to really make their feelings known. They go beyond that thing of like, let's put posters up. Like they're verbally making a presence. They're making a nuisance of themselves. They're having it filmed. They're putting it to social media. It's a group of fans with a little bit of money that they're raising, investing the money back into the cause that they're fighting for.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, exactly. They're not just chatting about it, and they're not asking for people to put money in, and they're not doing anything with it. They're actually putting their money where their mouth is, and they're actually going and expressing the opinion to fans.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They're not just bringing their money in and keeping it for themselves. So
fans fighting for their club.
Yeah. It's becoming almost like the Blue Action is becoming a very strange supporters group, not like a standard supporters group.
Yeah,
but Blue Action is like a supporters group for change, and they tried to help make the club a more positive place to be when Lambert came in. Like, don't get me wrong, but they'll certainly stand by the fans when things need to change again. But fans are on a hide into nothing for a very long time. In my opinion, they won't change it until tickets need to be renewed.
No, I agree with that. But for all of those, for those of you Ipswich fans in the chat, etc., as I mentioned at the top of the show, next Tuesday we will be doing a live watch along, myself and Adam, of the whole game. So we want to see as many of you in the chat as possible throughout the match. We'll be talking all different points. Me giving my thoughts, Adam giving his thought, but we want to get as many of you guys involved in the show as possible. So as I said, it is set on the channel. Get yourself a reminder set so that you can watch us enjoy that match. But Dean, we really appreciate you coming on tonight and giving all your thoughts and opinions. And I think you've opened a lot of people's eyes in the chat as well. And like I said, I think it's been a really good, honest, open chat. And if it's, and the old saying goes, if it helps one person, then that's the main thing, and that's the most important thing, right?
Absolutely. Like I say, thanks for having me on, and you first. That's it. You first.
Yeah. We will take that message.
Definitely.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Daniel, yes, I think so. So I will be. It won't be the first time. Many a time sat in the away end at Ipswich, but there we go. We won't go into. I'll talk more about that later on. But yes, you're getting a lot of love, Dean, from tonight's show, which is absolutely superb to see. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on Twitter, give it a retweet. And if you're watching on Facebook, remember to share the video as well. Again, just a friendly reminder, all of those who are watching from a Twitter perspective, you have until the end of the month. You won't be able to watch it on Twitter. Moving forward, you will have to come over to YouTube. So just make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future content. But until next time, as always, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see each other next Monday. Adios.